Milsurp Garage. Yes, there's a 22 on the table. We're back with the 22s. Actually, this was a kind of like a recent purchase, and I cleaned it up, and I figured while I'm still hot on the tail of the 22 thing, let me throw this out there before I start getting involved with other stuff, and then it doesn't really seem to fit in. Not that I'm in any kind of order of things fitting in. The Savage Model 6A. Now, if you want to do your research on the different versions of this gun, be my guest, but it's insane. I had looked on a website to see somebody giving some info on that, and here's what I got. That looks like the letter of a serial killer, and that was just copy and pasting this guy's post on different versions and different little idiosyncrasies, different things that changed on these guns over the years. Oh my God. Suffice to say, this is a Savage Model 6A. It's very difficult to date these. They're pre-68, obviously, so there's no serial numbers on these. It's very difficult to date them. You have to date them by configuration. I was helped out a little bit by this scope mount, and this scope that looks like it was period. It's like somebody put it on there. So it looks like it was put on there when the rifle was bought. So you can kind of get an idea. So, but basically breaking this down by the roll stampings on it and a couple of other features, I come up with 37 to 46, so it's pre-war. And with a couple of the little doodads on here, I'm dating this one to 1939. That's what I'm coming up with. And it's early, very early production. You can also tell because of this checkering here. So we'll take a look at the features in a little while. I want to touch a little on the history of Savage with these things. It was also called a Stevens Springfield. Let me make sure I get this right. A Stevens Springfield 87A. Also, there were several store brand versions. Sears, Montgomery, Ward's. Oh, forget it. I mean, not only that, it's the gun with the most nicknames ever. You want to hear? I'll give you the nicknames. They called this thing the Click Clack gun, Old Clickity Clack, a Gill Gun, the 3-in-1 rifle. We'll break all this down. Well, Gill Gun, obviously, because of this. The Clickity Clack, because when you fired, you pulled the trigger, bang, the bolt came back, ejected the round, and it stayed just like that until you let go of the trigger. Then it would come forward. So it kind of sounded like, bang, every single time. So all your friends, all you really heard was bang, and you heard bang, clack, bang, clack. So there you go. And the 3-in-1 rifle, it was called because you could put, this one's chambered for long rifle. You could put long rifle in here. It will function. It will cycle long rifle rounds semi-automatic all day. Now, if you want to load this magazine with shorts or longs, that's just fine, but it will not cycle them. They will hang up, they will stovepipe, they won't cycle. So what you could do is, you could put shorts in here, charge one, pressing that in locks the bolt. So it would fire, then you pull out, back, charge, in, fire, out, back, in. So it's like a bolt action rifle. And you can do that with longs and shorts. And it also had a provision to hold the bolt open. And that's by using two holes back here. One there and one that's underneath the scope mount there that you can see that would allow this button to fit into a recess. Well, we're all over the place. We're doing ergonomics now. When I really wanted to cover history, we're just going to go all over the place. That's what we're going to do. Since we're starting to talking about the ergonomics, here's the safety. It's a little convenient spot. Flip some safety that works really well. Nice positive engagement there. Nice big bolt handle. This awesome Weaver G4 scope, period scope from late 30s. This mount right here, nice. And here's the gills that give it the Gill Gun. I'll talk about this later too. This was actually patented. There's one up here and a line of them back here. The regular sights that you're used to seeing already here. Nice. Tube fed. What's the capacities here? 15 long rifle, 17 long, 21 short. And nice dovetailed front sight. Oops, I'm off camera. Beautiful crown here. Nice sight. What we're used to. You know, this one is in decent shape. Nice, this nice walnut here. Nice checkering. This trigger guard is a little odd. It's kind of like a weird metal. This is one of the things that changed around through the years. I don't know what it is. It's just kind of like almost aluminum-y. Very weird. And it stays with the stock when you take it apart. I'll show you. And this nice plastic butt plate here that's very well formed to the wood. Nice. So, should we talk about some history now? All right. Well, when I say history, I mean that Savage and Stevens, they had some weirdness going on. They were both wartime producers. Wartime does weird things for these companies. They might not, even though they're making tons of weapons, it's wartime. It's not like you're really prospering. You know what I mean? You might be doing a lot of that on the cuff, making these guns. You might be, you know, not even really necessarily getting paid all that much from the government. You're just like kind of like doing your duty. And sometimes it doesn't really work out well for these companies. Savage wound up buying Stevens in the 20s. But they never really got rid of that Stevens name because it was a very popular name. And it's kind of like if GM bought Ford, would they really get rid of the Mustang? You know what I mean? They would just make Ford cars as if nothing ever happened and sell twice as much. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what happened. They didn't want to just absorb it. It wasn't like a competitor they wanted to get rid of. They looked at it as an opportunity to sell Stevens brand guns as well, you know, and that's what they did. And they were cool. And sometimes there were crossovers like this one. Like around the same time, they made a Savage Model 6A and a Stevens Springfield Model 87. And listen to this: there was an 87M that there's a lot of talk over this. It's a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, but there's a lot of people that believe it was originally destined to be a military trainer for World War II. It came out just before World War II, like 1940 into 41 is when they made this thing. And it was similar in shape. If you Google Stevens Model, Stevens Model 87M, you'll see there's pictures of it right next to a Garand. It very closely mimics the size of a Garand. And they said that originally they were made, Stevens thought they were going to be possibly used as a military trainer to get a contract, but it never happened, so they kind of stopped making them. So they're kind of rare, but very interesting nonetheless. But that weirdness about it actually continues into you know, there's so much talk about it because there was an actual connection to a military contract, which was a 12-inch barreled boxed magazine silenced version of this rifle that was tested by Army Ordnance for OSS usage for basically for, you know, assassinating people. So that was real, and there's actual paperwork on that. So that's why there's that whole military connection with this thing that was always a little weird like that. But those Garand trainer looking ones do look awesome, and they're pretty cool. I would definitely be proud to own one of those. But they're you know, probably a lot of money and hard to find. But if you ever stumble on one at a gun show and the guy doesn't know what it is, grab it. So these things in 1938 or 37, they started at like $15. And the cool thing about that is they were half as much as other guns like the Remington 241 and the Winchester Model 63 that were out then that were well over $30. So this thing did really well, and it sold so much that in 39, like a year later, all of a sudden the Winchester Model 74 comes out, a semi-auto that's around $15, and in 41 a Remington Model 550 comes out that's around $15. You know what I mean? So they realized that that, you know, Savage Stevens, they had a thing going on here where they were making a lot of money selling guns for that price. So they followed suit. And what else we got on this thing? Some other interesting facts are that a patent was filed in 1940 for these gills. Now, that guy's name was Nicholas Brewer. Now, I don't know if he's the inventor of the gun or just the designer of these gills. I'd have to do a little bit more research, which I haven't done, but that was in 1940. And he received the patent years later, like 42 or 44 or something like that. So those gills were patented, and supposedly, in order to receive a patent, you do have to show that your design has some type of function. You can't just patent some weird thing making claims that it does something and it doesn't do it. There has to be some substantiation show. So he did show that semi-automatic guns would build up lead and powder deposits, especially years ago when ammo wasn't like it is now. They didn't have CCI back then. And the buildup that would be inside the receiver would prevent the action from functioning properly. And by having it vented along the side like this, that you would get a lot of that crap, and that, you'd probably see it sitting here in this wood inlet. All the lead deposits and powder deposits would get blown out. So that is pretty cool. I mean, it had to show that it actually did something. You know what I mean? So so that's pretty cool. And also, it has the distinction for, in the late 40s into the early 50s, the stocks were made out of the stuff called tennite, which was the first plastics used for stocks. It's got that distinction. Although I think I've heard that claim before. So, I don't know, I think a few people might have claimed the same thing. So, let's see. What did I do as far as how to date this thing? The checkered hand grip is definitely pre-war. The Utica, New York roll stamping. Let's take a look at what's stamped on that barrel so we can break it down. Let's get a little zoom going on. What do we got here? Savage, get a good spot. Savage Corporation, Utica, New York, made in USA, model 6A. There we go. Utica, New York, made in USA. So that Utica, New York, and then what do we got down here? Caliber 22 long rifle, smokeless, greased only. So the Utica, New York denotes, right there, that denotes less than or equal to 1946. So evidently in 1947 it changed to a different thing. And it also has a patent on here. This is hard to read. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. It's right here. This is going to be probably impossible. Wait, no, there it is. I think you can see it on there. Right under the site. Patent, and there's a number. Others pending, it says. Well, that patent, that exact patent, and that patent only being on there denotes greater than or equal to 1937. So somewhere between 37 and 46. And then I knocked that down to 43 by something else, but I forgot exactly what. And then this scope mount with the T on it here, there's a T over here, that breaks down to, that's a 39 scope mount. So this is why I figured I'd put it at 39, because I figured that somebody would buy the rifle and put the scope mount on it right away. So I figured that's where it would be at. And I think that's all I got as far as on my papers. So let's get into some coolness now, and let's take this thing apart. So here's how it goes apart. It has this screw here with the ridges on it, and you just lift right out, and you get the whole action, the trigger assembly, everything. The stock like this just comes right off with the trigger guard and everything. It just leaves that behind, which we can play with now. This is fun. There's a hair here. So interesting here in that, let's zoom a little. Let me make sure I keep this on camera now. Look at how interesting this action is with its functionality here. Looks like a lot of fragile parts in there. Supposedly this lifter here, being that it's just like that thin metal like that or whatever, was a problem with this gun, but I don't know, I don't see a problem. And what's funny is I don't think this action's ever been apart. See how these screws are buggered there? That's like factory buggering. Nobody ever took this apart, I'm telling you. This is, see, even this one, look at that. It's a little, somebody tighten that and did not do justice to that screw. Here's the safety mechanism here. Just like a metal plate. And you can see it here, it just blocks the trigger right here. Watch, you go up, it just blocks the trigger from moving. Simple, simple, simple. Here's the trigger mechanism. Oops, dry fired it. I don't think this is one you want to dry fire, because the firing pin might actually come in contact with the edge of the barrel. I'm not 100% sure, but it looked like that up there. And then charging it, this lifter system here got a lot of criticism with these very delicate springs. But let's check out how it works. Oh, and then you can unscrew this back here. This unscrews, it's got a kind of like a ball detent. And you take out the bolt and the firing pin and stuff, that mechanism. Trying to decide if I'm actually going to do that now. Let's wait a little while. Maybe I'll do it a little later in the video. We'll see what happens. But let's, for now, let's zoom back out a little bit. Let's take advantage of this, like, fact that this stays all together when you take it apart. Let's show how this functions here. We'll take out the magazine tube. It's one of those rotate and out. Very smooth, by the way. If you dig a smooth magazine, and we've always talked about the quality by charging it, you can tell the to me that always meant I don't want to struggle out there with the with the ammo. You want to shoot, Watch this one. Watch this. So nice how that just gobbles them right up. Oh, I say that and then it gets caught. Oh, that was my fault. It was caught here because I didn't have the thing lined up. But look at that. I'll do it again. Just soaks them all right up. No problem. And then already you could see the first round ready to go right there. Sits right at the back of the tube. And then charging it, the lifter pushes it up. And boom, it charges. So here, if I fired, right, it would have gotten stuck. See, and then it charges. I can't dry fire on these, but what I can do is I'll eject it and then act like as if I would have pulled the trigger. If I would have pulled down, I'm holding it. See, so if I would have pulled the trigger, it stays like this. And now watch when I let go of the trigger. That's when it charges. You see? Hold on. I feel like I left you guys hanging there with a true show and tell. Let me get back in here again. Put a couple in. Charge it back up. So what I meant was I don't want to dry fire on here, but if I were to pull the action back, eject around and act like as if I had pulled the trigger. So it's like bang, and that's how it would be sitting. When you let go, it charges. And then once again, bang, it stays back. You let go, it charges. Bang. I could do this all day. It's very reliable, and it gets this there's this rumor going around that it's not reliable because of this lifter or whatever, but I've sat here and cycled these snap caps through it, watching how it works. It's flawless. It just doesn't even hiccup, doesn't even hiccup. And then to reassemble, we just drop this back in here again. Boom. And we line this up and we screw the knurled screw back in. Make sure she's nice and snug. And there we go. We're back in action. How cool is this thing? And this is I think a 3/4 inch tube. So if you get one that has this mount on it or whatever, you don't have to use this crusty old weaver. This weaver is shitty. When I got it on the rifle, it's all cloudy and I don't even think there's a reticle in it. I think it's just like a sight glass. I don't even see a reticle. It must be destroyed in there. But any 3/4 inch scope, you could just slide right in there. I mean, or how cool is, you know what? I think I snugged it with a screwdriver, but these are also knurled. You just unscrew these, you take this right off. You screw these plugs right back in again, and you're looking down the sights. So, you know what I mean? It's a quick removal for it. And that's that. What was I going to do again? I'll take apart the bolt. You want to? Let's do it. Why not? I'll show you what's in there. It is a little unique looking. Let me see. I got to sit down here below the camera, so let me make sure I'm on video. If I keep it right here. All right. Let's see what we got here. You know what? First, I'm going to take the scope off. No, leave the scope on. We'll leave the scope on. Let's just take this apart. Screw it. Screw it. No, let's unscrew it. This just unscrews. I think you might have to be careful of a little bit of, there's a little bit of spring pressure there. And then there's this cap. This is the firing pinny mechanism. The bolt handle end just comes right out. And the bolt itself, see if I remember how to do this. I think you have to pull the trigger. And then you have to shove it with something. Let me get how about this wooden dowel? Does that work? Yeah. And then there's the bolt. So we'll move the rifle off to the side. So then we have the bolt here, where you could see the firing pin here. Man, camera, nice. The firing pin here runs down this channel. And is this the right way, or does it go this way? No, it goes like this. The firing pin rides in this channel here. And that's the bolt face there. Look at that, dual extractors. Nice, right? This is some quality stuff, man. These guys were cool. And the bolt handle has a notch in it that fits in here, so it holds all that stuff in place. This is like a dual spring arrangement with this. See this keeper on the back right here? Man, I'm just looking at that. That just wants to just pop out and explode and lose that piece on the back. That's a Numrich phone call if I ever heard one. Good luck finding that. It's making me want to put it back together before that just completely explodes. I got a lot of ballast all in here. So reassembly, yeesh, I'm a little worried. Reassembly, you want this notch. Again, let me make sure I'm in camera again. All right, so this notch goes up. So it's the bolt going in here. We could push it all the way forward. The notch does go up, right? Oh, we have to pull the trigger. We have to pull the trigger for that to go in. And then we use our dowel again. Let's get that all the way in there. Pull the trigger. And not lined up anymore. The dowel stuck down the middle of the bolt in that hole, of course. The one spot that we wouldn't want it to be, and that's where it went. That's what happens. So let's reset. Pull the trigger right down the middle. Use the dowel to push on the side this time. And there we go, it's home. And it's in. So that's that. Now, firing pin and this, right? Like this. This goes in here. Nice. See, that sits in there. And then once again, we fit down right down that right down that notch in the bolt face. You know what? It would have been easier to leave the bolt back further, even further. The bolt needs to be back further. How about right there? That looks nice. Now we can put this right in there. This is upside down. This no, it goes like this. Why is it not going right in there? It's the scope is in the way. I wanted to take the scope off from the get-go, and I didn't. That's why, because it goes like that. Okay, so there we go. There we go. Nice. Whoa, you don't want to do that because you don't want to lose that keeper off the end. All right. Oh, you know what? I messed up royally because I didn't put the bolt handle in. Hold on. Let's pull the trigger again. Not this piece, this piece. Let me get you guys in view. This notch goes up, that goes in there, then this goes in. Right? Now pull the trigger and push. There we go, we did it. Listen, you wanted to see it. If you were bored, if anyone tuned out, shame on you. That was a lot of very skilled work going on right there. And then this is bolt detented. You should hear it ratchet. Perfect. It didn't ratchet when I first bought it. It was gunked up with shit. We use a rag to tighten it. And check function. Bolt out, in, locks open, snaps closed, pulls the trigger. If I pull the trigger, it opens, it stays shut. There you go. Check the safety. It's all good. That's how to disassemble it. So you were there. I should have done that with all the rifles, actually. Bored the hell out of you by disassembling it. So that's the 6A. And it's not in the Walnut and Steel by Bill Ward book, but it is in Walnut and Steel 2 by Bill Ward. And here it is. And he talks a lot about it. There's a few full pages of it, you know. Look at that, nice. He definitely touches on it in the second book because people were probably like, "Yo, see, it's the forgotten 22. People forget about it." But I have not shot it yet. But it's supposed to be a real tack driver, and the functionality I'm seeing here on this end is nice. I mean, it's cycling rounds like that through it like beautifully, and everything feels nice. So I have a feeling it's going to be a good shooter. But next range trip, we're definitely going to bring it. Next range trip video, it's going to be the first gunshot, guaranteed. And we got a lot of cool stuff on the horizon. So hang in there. I'm tooling up with some nice summertime stuff here. Now it's time to get rolling. This is serious business here. It's not spring anymore. This is go time. So get your gun pants on. Do you have gun pants? What the hell are gun pants? Get ready, because we're turning it up. Stay tuned. Later.